There's something magical about the way a journey begins. Not just the packing of bags or the checking of maps, but the quiet understanding between two people that they're about to step into a moment they'll remember for a lifetime. For John and Hibiki, their story as a married couple began not in the bright lights of a crowded city, nor in the polished halls of a luxury resort. Instead, it started with the hum of a motorbike engine, the salty scent of the ocean drifting through the air, and the open road stretching out ahead. They had talked about their honeymoon for months before the wedding. Friends suggested exotic islands, famous cities, and high-end retreats. But John and Hibiki wanted something different, something that reflected the way they saw life together. They didn't need opulence to feel rich, and they didn't need a schedule packed with activities to feel fulfilled. What they wanted was time to breathe, time to talk, time to simply exist in the same space without hurry. The idea came to John one evening while they were watching the sunset from their apartment balcony. "What if," he said, "we just rode along the coast? No flights, no resorts, just the two of us, the bike, and the road." Hibiki smiled, and in that smile, the decision was made. So here they were, the morning after their wedding, standing beside their motorbike in the soft light of dawn. The city was just beginning to stir, but they were already dressed in light jackets, helmets in hand, and eyes full of anticipation. Their route was simple: follow the coastal roads until they reached a small town. John had visited once as a child, a place he remembered for its peaceful beaches, warm sunshine, and the gentle rhythm of the waves. The ride began slowly, the traffic of the city giving way to open stretches of road. Buildings turned into green fields, and then green fields gave way to the endless blue of the ocean. Every turn brought a new view, fishing boats rocking gently near the shore, children running along sandy paths, and lines of palm trees bending in the wind. They stopped often, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. At a small roadside cafe, they sipped hot tea while an elderly couple at the next table told them about their own coastal adventures from decades ago. At a cliffside viewpoint, they stood silently, listening to the waves crash below, feeling the mist on their faces. These weren't planned stops. They were gifts the road offered, and John and Hibiki accepted them without hesitation. As they rode, Hibiki noticed something she hadn't felt in months. Her shoulders were relaxed. The deadlines, the endless emails, the city noise, they felt far away now, like a different life entirely. John noticed it too. He could see it in the way Lan tilted her head back to feel the wind, in the way she laughed when a curious seagull seemed to follow them for a few hundred meters. By midday, the road grew quieter. The ocean, once distant, now seemed to ride alongside them, only a few meters away. The sun hung high, casting a golden shimmer over the water. John reached out his hand, and Hibiki took it for a brief moment, both of them smiling under their helmets. It was in these small gestures, the shared glance, the quiet laugh, the simple act of moving together through space, that the real honeymoon began. They weren't rushing toward a destination. They were simply living inside the journey. And while they didn't say it out loud, both of them knew this was exactly what they had been searching for. Not just a trip, but a reminder of what really mattered. The winding road opened up to a view that felt almost like stepping into a postcard. The small town appeared on the horizon, nestled between rolling green hills and a curve of golden sand that embraced the turquoise water. Fishing boats rested along the shore, their paint faded, but their shapes strong, like they had been part of the scenery for generations. Life here moved at a different rhythm, shops with wide open doors, neighbors chatting under the shade of a tree, and children riding bicycles barefoot along the cobblestones. The salty breeze carried the faint aroma of grilled seafood, and somewhere in the distance, a radio played an old song that seemed to fit the moment perfectly. They found a small inn just a short walk from the beach. The building was simple, painted in soft blue and white, with a front porch lined with flower pots. An elderly woman greeted them with a warm smile and the kind of hospitality that made them feel instantly at home. There was no polished marble floor or grand chandelier, just the comforting creak of wooden steps and the scent of fresh linen in their room. Hibiki gazing at the horizon. The sun was beginning to dip lower, and the sky was shifting into shades of orange and pink. John joined her, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. There was no need. They decided to walk along the beach before dinner. The sand was cool beneath their feet, and the waves rolled in gently, each one whispering a different rhythm. John and Hibiki talked about little things, funny moments from the ride, the taste of the tea they had that morning, the way the sea seemed to calm everything down. No traffic, no ringing phones, just the ocean and the occasional call of a seabird. It was then that Hibiki realized how rare it was to be truly present, to exist in a place without rushing ahead to the next task. She thought about how often their days in the city are spent in constant motion, always planning, always moving, but rarely stopping. John realized the journey had already taught them something valuable. Happiness didn't need to be chased in grand gestures or expensive settings. Sometimes it was as simple as sharing a meal, breathing in the sea air, and knowing that the person beside you felt the same quiet joy. And there they were, hand in hand, surrounded by the sound of crashing waves and the shimmering light above. They didn't need anything more. The next morning, the air was crisp. They set off after a light breakfast, the sun still low, casting a soft glow over the water. The ride back was slower, but strangely, it didn't feel disappointing. It struck them both that this unplanned delay had given them an entirely new experience, one they would have missed if everything had gone perfectly. The day had not gone as they had imagined, but it had been perfect in its own way. They realized that the true value of their journey wasn't measured in miles traveled or landmarks visited. It was in the way they faced the unexpected together, with patience, curiosity, and gratitude. It was time to head home. The motorbike was ready, their bags packed, and the road stretched before them once again. The ride back was steady, each turn of the road carrying with it the memories they had gathered, the laughter in the market, the calm of the sunset, the unexpected delay that had led to unexpected joy. They didn't rush. There was no need. By the time they reached the city, the noise and movement felt almost overwhelming after days of quiet. But something in them had shifted. They weren't just returning to the same life. They were bringing something back with them. That evening, they cooked dinner together in their small apartment. It wasn't fancy, just simple dishes they both loved. As they ate, they talked about the trip, sharing their favorite moments and small observations that the other might have missed. They realized that the beauty of their honeymoon wasn't only in the views or the places, but in the way it had reminded them of life's quieter gifts, patience, presence, and the ability to find happiness in simplicity. Before they went to bed, Hibiki wrote a few lines in her journal. Sometimes we look for happiness in big events, faraway places, or perfect plans. But sometimes, happiness is just the person beside you, the road ahead, and the willingness to see beauty in every stop along the way. John read the words over her shoulder and smiled. They didn't need photographs to remember this trip. Though they had taken plenty, they just needed the feelings it had left behind. The next morning, the city would pull them back into its busy rhythm. There would be deadlines, errands, and all the small demands of daily life. But now they knew something important. Peace wasn't only found on quiet beaches or open roads. It could be found anywhere, as long as they carried it with them. And in that understanding, their honeymoon never truly ended. It simply became part of their way of living.